Originally, I was born in Nigeria, and being born in Nigeria, I'll say that obviously it was a different environment from obviously coming to the UK. But my mum left around the age of 2, and my mum leaving around the age of 2, basically, I'll say I felt that was my first ever abandonment. I was living with my grandma, and obviously my grandma, I'll say I grew up in probably a compound where my granddad was there, and mainly my grandma was my prime carer. And then shortly after that, I was introduced to my father. And being introduced to my father, I would say it was like a sense of hope. He was already living in the UK. And so when he came to get me from my grandma on my mum's side, he then took me to his mum's house. But in that same process, I was introduced to his new wife, which then later on became my stepmom. Then after living with his mum for a bit, when I was put into the boarding school, I was staying with my stepmom's family. So there was a lot of movement, quite as a child, not actually knowing where home was. Then he then requested for me to come over. But the reason I went to the boarding school was to learn how to speak English, because obviously at that time I knew how to speak quite broken English. That's what you spoke in Nigeria. It's called Pidgin English. In Nigeria, she was lovely. In Nigeria, because obviously my father, the rules of my father was that if I didn't like her, then he wouldn't marry her. I looked at her as mum, and obviously the way my father introduced her, that was your new mum. For me, obviously coming from Nigeria, the culture over in Nigeria is like, if your child is naughty, obviously you're allowed to lay hands on your child. So being in that household, I took it as I was a bad child. And that's how I looked at it. And every single time, even when it comes to school, I tried to overly perform, make sure that I was always, the best of the best and everything else. But for her, she just found anything and any reason just to always, pick at. But then, obviously, when we first came into the UK, was living in Kent. She always trying to ask the school, I might behaved in school, I might all of this, all of that. Because for her, she just wanted any reason to obviously just But when we moved to Southeast London, I was then able to walk from school back home and back to school. And on the walk back from school, I remember a friend that I had in school at that time. He was just asking about my personal life at home. And I remember sharing with him, this is what happened. And then for him, it was like, this shouldn't happen. And you should tell social services and everything else. But at the time, I didn't know who social services was or what social services was. But it just gave me that sense of shame. On the way back home from a family member's house in London, it was then, I'll say it was a fact where we was coming back and I was walking slowly behind her. But before getting back home, I wanted to stay with the family member. And she basically told me I couldn't. But in asking her, she got angry at me asking her. So on the way back, I was walking behind her, just dragging my feet. But by the time we got to the flat door, she turned, obviously she had her heels on her hand. So she just turned around and hit me with the heels on my head. And then obviously there was blood pouring. And at that time, it was then we got into the block and it was like, do you want to go up the stairs or do you want to come in the lift with me? Obviously for me at that time, I wanted to get away from this woman. So it was like, I'll walk up the stairs. I sat there waiting for the lift to get up to to our floor. But in that process of waiting for the lift to get up to that floor, I looked at the hallway and I was looking at the lift and I was just thinking to myself, I don't want to stay here. But I also liked being at that family member's house. So for me, my original plan was to run away to that family member's house, to go back to that family member's house. But that plan didn't go as obviously I planned. I don't know if I fainted or I fell asleep, but either way, I was not awake and I ended up waking up at the last stop. I think I went into a cab station, and then going to a cab station, they then called the police. They straight away started asking questions. I was taken to the police station, and in them asking questions, it then led to me then obviously being put into care. So from my stepmom, there was no contact, but from my dad, there was still like visits. So I used to have to go to the visiting center to see my dad and everything else. But my dad was very much like, take your statement back so you can come back to the house. And obviously, because obviously he's trying to protect his wife too. So he's very much like, he's trying to deal with it in-house. But in that situation for me was that I didn't feel like he could keep me safe. When I was put into that placement, it was a fact where I would say that obviously with social services, they do a background check on the adults, but never the child or any children within that family or everything else. My foster carer, lovely woman. Like I would probably say she tried her hardest to be the best foster carer she could be. I remember I started calling her mum, and she didn't want to feel like she replaced my mum. So she basically told me I couldn't call her mum. So for me, the placement was really brought down after that because I felt rejected. When I was introduced to a wider family member, her nephew was actively involved in gang culture. By that time, I didn't know nothing about gangs or anything else. I just looked at him as like a cool role model because even at that time, fitting in school, when I would say like I was getting bullied in school because I spoke different, dressed different, looked different, everything else. So he tried to help me fit in school, tried to teach me like, say this, say that. And for him, it was all fun like and jokey. But for me, it was more, I took it very serious. He was like my first ever like proper like role model. And then shortly after knowing him, he disappeared. So that was again another form of abandonment. Obviously now as an adult, I can say that he was put into prison. But at that time, it's like, in a family, you don't speak about him. You don't speak about that family member. I went to the park, and I'll say for the first couple of weeks, trying to fit in the park, and obviously not knowing anyone in the area and everything else was very much like weird, and I felt isolated and everything else. So when a group of kids in the park, and I'll probably say it was the girls that was chilling with the boys that probably brought me to more of their attention, thinking, oh, that's a good looking girl, you know what I'm saying to you? So I'm thinking, but they wanted me to be around them. So I just took it as a form of acceptance. Like, they like me, they want me to be around them. But I'll say after the first couple of days knowing these people, they're asking me, can we use your bike? I don't know you lot, like, I just met you lot and I can't let you lot use my bike. But then they were like to me, okay, cool. Can you deliver this for us? Like, just come out of the park, go across the road, take the right, number 10, just go to number 10. And then it was like, okay, cool. Like, I don't mind doing that. So I done that. And in doing that, I'll say first started with probably like a couple a day. Then it became quite frequent, like constantly doing deliveries for them. I was then introduced to their elders. And being introduced to their elders now, with any form of exploitation, is a business module. And it being a business module, straight away, can you go away for a week? I said I couldn't do that. And then after that, it was like, okay, cool. Like, can you go away for a day? And then it was like, when they said, can I go away for a day? I'll say the selling point for me was that it's the same thing. You're chilling with your friends. You guys get to travel, like, instead of being in the ends, which is the area, you get to travel. I travel outside of the area and just chill with your friends. The next day, that's what happened. I was taken away for the day, but on the way to, obviously I was living in southeast London, and I was taken back out to Kent. I was taken into an addict's house, a drug user's house, and being taken into a drug user's house, I'll say that first it was very much dirty, very much like, had a different smell to it. But I'll say that the first red flag for me probably wasn't even being out of the area without my friends. It was them introducing me to banking, for people that don't know what banking is when you put a package inside of you. So when they introduced me to banking, it was a fact where they done it in front of me. And then after that, they then told me it's my turn to do it. I didn't know where I was, and I didn't know, I don't have my friends to turn to or to speak to. It told me that this is light and this is dark. And if this person comes for this amount of light or this amount of dark, you just give them, and then they're going to go out and they're going to come back in and they're going to give you cash. They said to me that we're going to be gone for a couple of hours, we're going to come back and get you, da 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 da. So for me, I'm expecting them to come back that same evening. But evening time has come, no one's come. And I kept on calling them, no one's answering the phone. The second day has come, kept on calling them, no one's answered the phone. But that whole time, the drug user just kept on coming. On that third day, there was a knock on the door where I thought, it's time to go home. Let's go, very much happy. But obviously, like they said, the drug user opens the door, goes and deals with the door. I just have to stay there. I didn't realize that the drug user is being escorted by someone with a bandana and a shotgun being pointed at the drug user. And in understanding that, I'm thinking, okay, this is scary now. But as soon as they've obviously realized that I'm obviously behind the person that they're escorting into the room, the front room, they then pointed the shotgun at me. And I was escorted back. I was escorted with a shotgun to be sat down. I thought that, that this was it. I don't know what's going to happen next. But then this person just very much had a shotgun being pointed at me, but very looking in my face, very sketchy, trying to figure out who I was. Then he's taking off his bandana and he's to me, what are you doing here? And then I've recognized him as one of my foster carer's nephew's friends. I grew up with a street code, no snitching. You're not allowed to snitch. You're not allowed to talk to anyone that's outside of the community or the team. By this time, I didn't know nothing about no street code right now. So for me at that time, I'm snitching, I'm singing a cappella, I'm telling him everything. This is what happened on a Monday, this is what happened on a Tuesday, this is what happened on a Wednesday, this is what's happened. I thought they were coming back, they didn't come back. I've been waiting for these people to come back. I want to go home, everything. He's then obviously telling me, I'm going to take you back home. And the rest of the people that were in that house at that time, they were literally searching, looking in different rooms and everything else. So when he's obviously told me he's going to take me back home, he's escorted me outside of the house and taken me to a car. And at that time, I waited for everyone to get in the car and then we drove back to London. I had a parcel full of money and I also had a parcel which was obviously drugs at the time, but I didn't know it was drugs. So I asked them, what do I do with this? And the person in the front told me keep it. But I didn't know what to do with a parcel full of drugs because, I don't know what to do with this. The person that was sat next to me took the parcel full of drugs. And after they took the parcel full of drugs, probably say 45 minutes later, I'm back at home. Obviously, I was reported missing. And being reported missing, the police had to come that same evening to obviously ask me questions and everything else. And for me at that time, the only answer I knew to tell them was that I was with my friends. Because that's what I thought I was doing. I was with my friends. So that's what I told them. And after telling them that, they left. My foster carer, her thing was that, boom, ground you. So I was grounded. And in being grounded, that means no phone, no console, no nothing. So I'm just there damn, bored off my head.
Hi, and welcome to Deep.
We love making videos, meeting people and letting them tell their stories.
We really hope you're enjoying the channel, and if you are and would like a bit more,
We've just launched the series as a podcast on Spotify.
It's the full interviews uncut, so you can hear the whole thing, wherever you are, at home or on the go.
But no matter where you're watching the content, please remember to like, comment and subscribe, as it really helps the channel.
And don't forget to drop a comment below and tell us who you'd like us to talk to next.
Thank you. Now, back to our story.
Okay, cool.
So started year 7, thought that nightmare was over. Summertime, that's done. But when I was giving back my phone now, I started getting phone calls. And in getting phone calls, straight away, it was like, oh, you robbed us. Like, that was a straight statement, that you robbed us. I was confused. Like, I didn't rob no one. Like, what are you talking about? I didn't rob no one. That's not what happened. Like, I'm trying to explain to them what's happened, but it's like, no one cares. Like, literally, they don't care for what I have to say. They're just telling me that if I don't get them back their stuff, that they're going to kill my mum, and they're also going to kill my older brother. And they also said to me that when they see me, they're going to kill me too. From starting school and going to school normally and everything else, I'm not taking a long route back home. I'm not very much observant and like always looking behind, like to see if anyone, or like looking at like before taking a turn onto my actual road, looking to see if there's anyone there. Like very much like scared, thinking that these people are going to come at any time to come and get me. Modern Day Slavery Act was introduced in 2015. So for social services, they didn't know what that was. They didn't know what was going on to them. So, you know, can't be happening. It's not true. It must be fantasizing, all of these type of things. So when I was disclosing it, that's what I was hearing. It was then a fact that I sat down and I thought, these people aren't going to help me. But the people that came in the house, I already started looking at them as my savior. Because for them, it's like, when no one came, they came. I went to them and I asked for help. I sat down and said to them, people are threatening me. They're saying they're going to kill me because you lot took this. But I told them I have the money, but they don't care about the money. They want everything. I'm just explaining to them everything that's been happening. They basically explained to me that no matter if you give them back their stuff, you violated. And because you violated, they're still going to harm you. They're still going to get you. So at that point, it was like, what do I do now then? Like, what do I do? And one of the elders, this is something that was very much like weird. It's like, call the number that's been calling you. They took the number and they called them. And when they called them, they told them that he's now with us and you lot, like, it's on site, whatever. And in that process, after that conversation on the phone, I was then given a revolver 380. Keep it on you, look after it. When we might need it, we're gonna call you. You're our little brother, like, you know, we got you, like, literally we'll always look after you. No matter what, no one's gonna be able to harm you, touch you. Like, these people, yeah, like, if they even, like, what, anything happens with these people, come to us, we will deal with it. Went back home, like, went to school without a gun, came back home with a gun. The maddest thing about it, I remember sitting down for dinner that evening and I still had it on me. Like, because I didn't know what to do with it. I'll say as the week went by, it was like, they had my number too now. So it was like, oh, like, come to the block. And I used to come to the block. And then coming to the block, I started taking trips outside of London with these guys, taking me to forests and all these type of places to learn how to shoot. So I started learning how to shoot the firearm. And after I started learning how to shoot the firearm, they then obviously introduced me to a shotgun. And when they introduced me to a shotgun, it was a fact of like, the first time I ever saw a shotgun, it was broken down into pieces. Then they showed me how to put it together and then how to not put it together, how to take it apart. Then the same thing for a handgun, the same thing for the revolver. They told me how to take out the barrel, so the actual spinner thing, how to put it back in there, how to clean it, how to clean inside of it. So they just started teaching me things randomly. Like, it was like random sessions of just teaching me things, how to shoot this, how to do this, how to do that. I became more destructive in school, where I felt like I didn't fit in school, and I didn't feel safe in school either. I remember the first time I was stabbed was near my school. Crazy thing about it, I look a lot like my foster carer's nephew. That was a coincidence. That was not even actually like, it was very much coincidence. I look a lot like him. the school that I went to was slightly in enemy territory. I kept on being asked, like, are you related to this person? Are you related to this person? And I used to deny it. Then a bunch of elders ended up stabbing me because for them it was like, you are affiliated with these guys. And when that happened, I'll say that that's when it then probably spiraled a lot more. For my birthday, I was given a bulletproof vest and a shotgun. Because obviously for them now, it's like you're actively involved now. So for me, after that, my life probably took a very dark turn. At the age of 13, my house was being raided by armed police because they thought that I was involved in a crime. Obviously, can't really speak too much about all of that, but I was found, so I was remanded for possession of a shotgun without a certificate. The person who was my co-defendant was 5 years older than me. And at that time, it was like I was given bail when they found my co-defendant. And when I was given bail when they found my co-defendant, it was like, okay, cool. Like, they sent me to Snowdonia in Wales. And obviously at that time, I had a big afro. Like, and I remember just constantly calling social services like, my hair, what am I going to do about my hair? Who's going to do my hair? And then they're just not listening. Like, they're just like, you're there. They were finding placement where it's quite isolated. So it was like very much, I'm the danger. I'm the danger. Like, you know, menace to society, we keep him hidden somewhere. When I was stuck up there and social services weren't listening, I thought to myself, okay, cool. They weren't going to listen. Guess who I call? My elders. And I called my elders and they came that same evening. By that time, I remember speaking to them, telling them that, oh, like, what's going to happen? And they're saying to me, like when you go missing, like it's normal stuff. You just go missing. Like, you know, you've been missing a couple of times. It's the same thing. By that time, I was absconding bail because I was bailed to that address. So that's an extra conviction. So didn't really know that. I was taken to Birmingham. Then after Birmingham, Newcastle. After Newcastle, Southampton, Portsmouth. I was taken everywhere. I was taken to different locations. But while I was taken to different locations, my co-defendant, who was arrested after I was given, obviously when I was given bail after he was arrested, he was in court basically telling the court that it was a 13-year-old that had the firearm. It's a 13-year-old that done this and done that. So I was found guilty in my absence. So when then he was released and he was found not guilty, I'm asking them, oh, like, what does that mean for me? Like, oh, you're good. You're found not guilty too. Everything's all right with you. And I was allowed to go back to London. As soon as he was released, I was allowed to go back to London. But before he was released, I was never allowed to touch London. And when I went back into London, I'll say 2 days being in London, arrested straight away. And being arrested straight away, I was told I was found guilty in my absence. And I'm basically here for sentencing. And there's a separate hearing for me absconding bail. So I was sentenced for all of that. I was really angry. Like, that whole bird, I was angry. That whole prison sentence, I was angry. Then obviously got into loads of fights, loads of issues. And I became sort of a problem within prison. So becoming a problem within prison, it slightly then builds more reputation now of like, that this person was a hazard on outside. He's a hazard in prison. Like within, like I'll say the gang culture and the gang environment I was in, just basically build that whole, he's a hazard. Then came out of prison at 16. Then coming out of prison now, it was like, I didn't really like my elders. Now the relationship has changed, where now I'm now looking at him a bit different. He blamed everything on me in court. And I was found guilty while he was found not guilty. It didn't really make sense to me. And being more defiant with my elders, I remember sitting down having a conversation with one of my elders and telling him that, like, I want to be done. Like, I don't don't really respect you lot. Like, that's the other comment. Like, I don't really respect you lot. I don't really think that, you know, like, you lot are calm. Like, you lot told me not to do this, but you lot done this. Like, it doesn't really make sense. I then became their worst enemy, where I started robbing orders. I started robbing all my orders. I left. I literally didn't want to do anything else. I just literally wanted to be a dad. So I left. Obviously, because the mother of my child at that time didn't live in South London. She lived in West. So I just chose not to come to South London. I just left and stayed in West London. They just kept on going after anyone and everyone that I knew. Everything just became basically head-to-head warfare. At the age of 19, I was given a choice, because obviously they knew that the mother of my child lived in West, but they knew also what they created too, is don't cross a line that if you cross that line, there might not be no coming back from it. And that is going to the mother of my child's house. Like, when I was 19, one evening, I had orders pull up. And for me, straight away, my thought process was, they've crossed that line, like literally. So my thought process was very aggressive, very everything. Nah, we don't want no problems, no issue. There's nothing here, bro. Like, we want you to be good. Like, we want you to be always good. Like, you're our little brother. Like, I don't know why we're here. Like, we're having these problems and everything else. So they told me, okay, cool. Now, for us to be good, like, we've got a machine, we've got a firearm. So obviously, machine is a firearm. So we got a machine, and we need you to hold this machine for us because we can't keep it in the South. But if you hold it for us and that, bro, everything is done. Everything is calm. You're Gucci. Like, there will be no problems, no issues after that. Okay, cool. That's calm. Like, I've held loads of machines for you lot. Then that was in the evening, early in the morning, like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm being raided by armed police. And because they had intel, they had a firearm in the house. I remember to this day when I was arrested in my boxers and my vest. Like, literally, I was cold that day. But I was arrested in my boxers and my vest. Where it really hit me, like, oh, damn. Like, now it makes sense. I became their little hazard. Because one, you can't kill me because you taught me to have a bulletproof vest on me 24/7. You taught me to have a gun on me 24/7. So at any time, if you come after me, there's a chance either one of us ain't gonna make it. So it's very much of like, cool, that was not the best option for them. The only option for them at that moment of time now is to, yeah, send them away. So that's what happened. So when I was arrested now, I remember sitting there in front of my solicitor, and my solicitor saying to my solicitor, I'm gonna plead not guilty because this is not my firearm. I'm gonna plead not guilty. Don't make no sense. Why am I pleading guilty for something that's not mine? There should be no, my fingerprint shouldn't be on it. Then my solicitor just broke it down and told me, cool, if you don't plead guilty, it's been found in the mother of your child's house. And because it's been found in the mother of your child's premises, she would be arrested next. And that's what I done. I pleaded guilty and I was given a 5-year sentence. And in that 5-year sentence, obviously, me and the mother of my child, we went together. So I had a girlfriend already in South London too. And in that 5-year sentence, she, like, at the start of my sentence, found that I had another child coming. And I'll probably say, like, for me, that was probably one of the most heartbreaking things, to have my child be born while I was in prison. And seeing my youngest daughter and her being so young, it was like every visit was like a restart. She doesn't know who I am. She's very scared of me. And that really every single time brought me every single visit. I worked on being a Samaritan. So I was a Samaritan prison, a listener. So I used to listen to other prisoners if they ever felt a type of way or anything. I was also a blue band. So that means that I was able to go to help the prison with, like, you know, getting food from like doing all these type of things, I was basically a trusted prisoner. And then I've done all the parenting courses that I could do in prison. So I've done all of these things. But then at the end of my sentence, I was faced with a deportation order. I remember it was like a very coincident. I found this lovely small lady, like literally, who ended up being my solicitor. It was through another person that was working within the prison. But she was going to see someone else, and I just ended up grabbing her, speaking to her. And she just basically sat there and said to me, oh, like, however it looks on paper and the person I'm meeting in real life, they're not the same people. That doesn't make sense. And after telling us my story from the start to the end, she then said to me, okay, cool. Bro, psychologist. Said, last time I ever told you to tell me your story. Tell this lady your story. Told her my story from the start to the end. Then they came in and said to me, we believe you've been groomed. And I looked at them for, what? Me groomed? Are you lot delusional? Like, me groomed? Nah. My next door neighbor is in prison for his older brother. That one's in prison for his olders. Like, this whole wing is in prison for something or something. Like, this is normal where we're from. Like, what are you talking about? But we went through the NRM, which is the National Referral Mechanism, which is a system that identifies victims of modern day slavery. And in going through the NRM, I was given both decisions. So the reasonable ground and the conclusive ground decision, which meant I'm now identified as a survivor of modern day slavery. I'm quite one of the early people to be identified, especially for firearms. When it comes to modern day slavery, it always speak about county lines and everything else. Even though I had a depth of county line, I was never actually arrested for county lines or anything like that. I was always arrested for firearms. So I finished my whole sentence. And after finishing my sentence, I was then held under immigration to not be released till that was dealt with. So I was still in prison and being held by immigration, even though my sentence was done. And then when immigration gave me bail, that's when I was released to a safe house. So I was released to a safe house and I was banned from London. But when I was released, I wasn't allowed to work or study. So it was very much like I can't do nothing. But then my probation officer, for her, I'm meant to be high risk, but instead I'm medium risk. She didn't get it. But she identified a significant amount of trauma. So she then put me in touch with a trauma-informed organization that instead of me seeing my probation session was now spent with a trauma-informed worker. I remember her telling me about trauma, and I'm telling her, blood, you think I have trauma? I inflict trauma on other people. Like, I don't have no trauma. What are you talking about? She's like to me that, like, this happened, that happened. And I started realizing slowly that, okay, cool, but I don't understand how that's anything to do with now. How all them behaviors and all the stuff happened to me as a child affect how I deal with things now, and how to keep myself regulated every single day, how to manage with emotions and everything else. So I started learning these things and started listening to the lady and started building trust with the lady. She introduced me to a youth organization, a CIC, who now I'm also a director of the CIC. But literally, she introduced me to a CIC, and basically I met my mentor. He was relatable, like really relatable. Used to be an armed robber, now very much trying to give back to the community and understand, like, literally, and change his life around. So I'm like, okay, followed him around for a bit. Then after that, now I was given my stay in 2022. I was given my stay in 2022. So I was released out of prison in 2020, and I didn't get my stay till 2022. I remember turning to my solicitor, what do I do now? And literally, I don't know how to get a job. I don't know nothing. I don't really actually know anything. Like, I don't know nothing about even universal credit. I don't know nothing about I don't know nothing at all. So I'm like, what do I do now? And then I remember her putting me in touch with the Human Trafficking Foundation. They then done a course called Train the Trainer. And them doing Train the Trainer was then getting survivors to train. So training survivors to then train professionals. That was the first ever involvement I got involved with using my lived experience. And I thought, these people want to listen. Like, they want to make, they're good people. They want to make a change. Then became a consultant for that trauma-informed organization that originally I was a client for. ended up being a director of the CIC, which I was a client for, and then obviously being an ambassador for Causeway, being a safeguarding governor for a residential school. Then now also just being a voice for the unheard. So being able to use my story to change other people's life and other people's perspective on the situation that they're in, and also to give awareness and understanding to professionals on how to manage and deal with kids at risk. So now I'm obviously becoming a public speaker and being an expert by experience, using my experience to train others.